The gentle hum of the afternoon was interrupted by the soft chime of a diner door. For one man, that simple sound struck like thunder. When Ryan Cross stepped into that gleaming chrome and yellow diner after 5 long years of wandering, he never imagined that the person he'd find behind the counter, worn, trembling, and smaller than he remembered, would be his mother. His boots froze against the black and white tiles. There she was, Martha Cross, in a faded pink uniform, her hands shaking as she wiped a table. Hovering above her, a manager in a black vest barked orders, jabbing a finger at her work. Her lips pressed tightly together as she obeyed, swallowing whatever pride she had left. Ryan's fists curled at his sides. He'd seen fights, flames, and funerals, but nothing cut deeper than watching his mother's dignity crumble under another man's voice. If you believe in kindness, forgiveness, and second chances, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Stories of Kindness, because the smallest stories often hold the biggest truths about love, pain, and redemption. 5 years earlier, Ryan had left town in a storm of anger and desperation, tired of poverty, tired of struggle. He'd walked away from everything that felt like home. His father had died young, and Martha had worked herself to exhaustion, double shifts in diners and laundromats, to keep a roof over their heads. He told her he was leaving to find a better life. What he really found was loneliness, asphalt, and regret. He drifted across endless highways, part of a brotherhood of bikers, tough men with loud engines and guarded hearts. They became his makeshift family. But at night, when the roar of the road faded, he could still hear her voice. "Come home safe, Ryan," as if she already knew he wouldn't. Now, standing in that diner, time seemed to freeze. The manager's voice snapped through the silence again, cold and sharp. "Do it right this time, Martha," he barked, slamming a hand on the counter. Ryan saw customers glance away, pretending not to notice, but he saw everything: the tremor in her shoulders, the tears she tried to hide, the pride she swallowed just to survive. He wanted to move, to speak, but guilt held his feet like chains. Then, behind him, the door opened again. 3 men entered, his biker brothers, boots echoing like distant thunder. The diner went still. Their black vests caught the sunlight, symbols of loyalty and the life Ryan had lived too long. His mother turned, startled by the silence. Her eyes met his for the first time in half a decade. Confusion flashed into disbelief, then melted into tears. She tried to look away. He took one slow step forward, then another, each one closing the distance of years. The manager frowned. "Can I help you, gentlemen?" he asked stiffly. Ryan didn't reply. Words had deserted him long ago. He simply walked to his mother's side, took the rag from her trembling hand, and set it down on the counter. Then he turned to the manager. His voice was quiet, but every word landed like a warning. "You don't talk to her like that." The man faltered, trying to speak. She missed a spot." Ryan stepped closer, calm but unshakable. "Then clean it yourself," he said softly. "She's done enough." Silence filled the room. The coffee machine hissed in the background, the only sound left. The manager backed away, shame replacing arrogance. Ryan turned back to his mother. Tears streamed down her cheeks. He reached out, his hand gentle on her shoulder. "I'm sorry, Mom." Her lips trembled. "Ryan, I thought you were gone." He shook his head. "I tried to be, but I couldn't stay away forever." For a long moment, she couldn't speak. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she said, "I kept your room the same way." Those words broke him in a way no fight ever could. All that time he'd been running from home. She'd been waiting, door open, light still on. They sat together in a yellow booth for hours, talking softly while his brothers waited by the door, giving them space. He learned she'd worked non-stop, never asked for help, never told anyone where her son had gone. She'd prayed for him every night, hoping against hope that he'd come back. When it was time to leave, she wiped her eyes with a napkin, trying to hide the tears. Ryan slipped an arm around her shoulders and whispered, "You don't have to clean tables anymore, Mom. You're coming home." The manager stood silent, shame written all over his face. As they stepped into the sunlight, it poured through the windows like forgiveness. Outside, Ryan's motorcycle gleamed beneath a clear blue sky. For the first time in years, the road didn't feel like freedom. Home did. He helped her onto the bike with care, like she was something fragile yet unbreakable. When she smiled, it wasn't weary, it was proud. The other bikers started their engines, a low, respectful rumble. The townsfolk watched as the prodigal son who'd lost his way finally found his reason to stay. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Stories of Kindness, because sometimes love is the road that leads us home. Before you go, tell us in the comments, if you could rewrite your past, would you find the courage to go back home? As the engines roared down the road and the diner disappeared behind them, Ryan didn't look back. Not because he was running again, but because he was finally free. 5 years he'd been lost, searching for direction. That day, he found it, and it pointed straight to his mother.